Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Claudia Sanchez, and I am the former publisher of Edible Queens magazine. And I'm delighted to welcome you all to this really important event, fundraising for an organization we all know called Queens Together. Before we get started, let me give you a little bit of a rundown of how the event will take place. We are going to I guess we're going to, I am a little nervous. We are going to do some live interviews as well as show you some pre-taped interviews of members of the food community in Queens, as well as premiering the film tonight that director Devin Kloss put together for called Queens Together at the Eternal Flame. It was an event at Socrates Park, and we'll hear more about that a little bit later. In the meantime, if you could give us your comments on the comment in the chat box, and also if you can consider donating, we've added a link to the donation for how you can donate in the chat box. And I'll be reminding you from time to time to do that. And just if you could consider donating any way that you can, because I think it's really important to support the mission of Queens Together. I wanted to share a little bit of the background between Jonathan Forgash and myself. I met Jonathan when I first started Edible Queens magazine several years ago, and we hit it off. As I'm sure you know, he's a lovely man. And we always looked for ways to partner together with the magazine, and we really couldn't find it. In fact, it took a pandemic to get us together. And so I am delighted that I'm able to volunteer and work with Queens Together in any capacity that I can. But I want to introduce the executive director and co-founder of Queens Together, Jonathan Forgash.
Claudia, thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I'm Jonathan Forgash. I'm the co-founder and executive director of Queens Together. And it's true, I've known Claudia for a very long time, and it did take COVID to bring us together. She's really amazing. She kind of holds all of this together, helped us create this event tonight. And yeah, so this event tonight, it's an example of how this year has gone. Queens Together essentially is a restaurant association that does community service, but really our goal is always helping restaurants support each other in business, and through that, supporting our communities. In this past year, it's been communities in crisis. Everything we do wouldn't be possible without the 1,500 plus donors, volunteers, restaurants, chefs, business leaders, other businesses, religious groups, cultural groups. Everybody taking an opportunity to step up and help a neighbor in crisis. We've done so much this year because of all of these opportunities, and tonight's film is just another example. Claudia, can I discuss that, or should I wait?
I want you to wait.
Okay.
I want you to wait. I actually want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So when you decided, I guess maybe, what was the vision for Queens Together when you created it with Jamie?
Yeah, so thank you for mentioning Jamie. So Jamie Fabine is the executive director of Sunnyside Shines, the business improvement district, Sunnyside, Queens, next door to me from Astoria. Jamie found me at one of the immigrant families together dining for justice events that we had created a food-centric fundraiser to help them raise money for the mission they were doing. And Jamie came up to me and said, let's start the first independent restaurant association in Queens. And we spent from September of 2019 right up until March 20th, I think, deciding how we were going to start the restaurant association in July of 2020. And, COVID hit, and we both started working remote from wherever we were. And we jumped right in. We couldn't start the association, but what we could do was find a way to raise money to pay the restaurants to do what they do best, which is take care of people with food and love and care and help their neighbors. So We raised a lot of money through very generous individual donations via social media. We paid our restaurants a fair wage to do the work, so they had money to help pay the bills and pay employees in the neighborhood. And we put out a lot of food and a lot of support, and hundreds of volunteers stepped up to help us at our food pantries and our deliveries, just to make it all happen. So the vision for the Restaurant Association slowly came along as COVID settled in. We have over 60 members now, and we're still growing. The infrastructure we built for food relief has really solidified. I would say that something we're very good at is last mile connectivity for food, for resources, knowledge, information. And I think that now is forever going to be part of who we are.
So it sounds to me that the mission has kind of changed as needs have changed in the community.
I would actually say COVID brought out the very best of what restaurants are, especially mom and pop, independently run restaurants, where we're essential in the neighborhood. Restaurants are really capable of doing so much besides just making money and supporting their families and supporting their neighbors with jobs. So I think Queens Together is better than we ever would have been without COVID. We now know our real strengths and what we can do to help people around us. So I'm proud of the people I work with and the volunteers that have stepped up. And I couldn't imagine this now being any other way.
So here we are in this sort of virtual space. I guess not just fundraising, but also celebrating the virtues of community. And one of your missions, I guess, today is to be able to fundraise for Zone 126.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about your relationship with them and how this event came to happen?
Sure. So, the film was made last fall. We did our project with Paul. We did the thing at the Eternal Flame. And the goal of this film was to be a fundraiser for Queens Together. And in just picking up the news one day, there was a story on Zone 126 in Anjou and the work she's doing. Turns out my neighbor here in Astoria, the work they're doing are local schools. My son went to one of them. And what a perfect connection. The Museum of the Moving Image is here in Astoria, and they sponsored this. We worked with restaurants in the neighborhood. So once again, we are a vehicle to raise money for a good cause. And in this case, it's Zone 126.
So I want to take this opportunity to introduce a pre-tape segment with Andrew, who describes very well what their mission is. So let's go to that.
Beautiful.
Can I call you? What would you
Andrew.
like? Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay. Who is the executive director of Zone 126. And Andrew, tell us what Zone 126 is.
Okay, so our name is formally Zone 126. Zone 126 is a cradle to college to career organization that is located here in Astoria and Long Island City. We were created by the Thomas and Jean Elmezi Foundation. Tom Elmezi was actually the inventor of the Diet Pepsi recipe. He lived and grew up here in Astoria and Long Island City. And so Zone 126 is focused in on 3 zip codes. Zip codes 11101, 11102, and 11106. Each one of those zip codes is anchored by a public housing development. Zip code 11101 is anchored by NYCHA Queensbridge houses. Zip code 11102 is anchored by NYCHA Astoria houses. And zip code 11106 is anchored by NYCHA Ravenswood houses. The work that we do is across 3 schools, 3 New York City public schools, PS 171, IS 126, and Long Island City High School. This work that we do is a pre-K through 12th grade pipeline. We support children and families across these 3 schools to provide them the much needed resources in order for them to thrive. So we work with partner organizations such as the Child Center of New York, that helps to provide our mental health clinic at Long Island City High School. We work with partners such as Community Word Project that does literacy arts-based programming at all 3 of our schools. We work with another partner by the name of Little Flower Yoga that also does yoga and mindfulness and breathing technique programs across all 3 of our schools. And these are just a few of the programs that make up who Zone 126 is. Um, we serve anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 children and families annually across our 3 schools and within the community, specifically at NYCHA Astoria houses, in providing programs and services.
How have you collaborated with Queens Together over the course of the pandemic?
So we recently formed a partnership with Queens Together to really get more information out about food insecurity efforts. As I previously said, our partnerships, Zone 126 works specifically through partnerships and partner organizations to support children and families along the cradle to college to career continuum. One of my dreams to create across all of our schools has been to create both a in-school food pantry and to create a laundromat. We have a ton of families that are living below the poverty line. The median income for a family of 4 living in Queensbridge houses is a little under $16,000, according to the New York Times. And so our families who we connect with for partner programs and services, they are connected to our pop-up pantries. And so every Wednesday at each one of our partner schools, we go out, we put a tent up, and we service our community members. Families either pre-register or they show up and they get a pantry bag full of non-perishable foods. So we include cereal and pasta and rice and beans and all those staples and cooking oil. And then they also get a tote bag of fresh fruits and vegetables so that they can go home and sort of cook. And some of the feedback that we've gotten from family members is the fact that they've stood together on tons of food pantry lines, and often they don't get the sort of support and services that they get from our family, our team here at Zone 126.
Andrew, does Zone 126 have a website, and how can people access it?
Absolutely. Zone 126 does have a website. It's www.zone126.org. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Our Twitter and Instagram handlers are at Zone126 Queens. When you go to our website, we have a large donate button that says donate here. You can't miss it. And it's probably on every one of our pages. So you can feel free to contribute a donation.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Wow, she's powerful. So
She
is
really is.
Zone 126. But that reminds me that I should be reminding everyone to donate to this wonderful cause, which is Queens Together and Zone 126. Jonathan, do you want to introduce our next taped interview?
I would. First, I would like to say that when you donate to this fundraiser, the money is all going to pay local restaurants in Astoria, Long Island City area, Sunnyside, to put together grocery packages that will go to the food pantries at the 3 schools supported by Zone 126. So your money stays local and it goes for a really good effort so the families can cook at home. So I'd like to introduce Carl he's the executive director at Museum of the Moving Image. They are our co-sponsor tonight. They are an anchor here in Western Queens for culture, for film, for education. They have a museum. They have amazing kids programs. Our son has done events there for years now, and we're really, really proud to be working with them.
Hello, I'm Carl Goodman, Executive Director of the Museum of the Moving Image, and don't worry, I'm not normally this large. The museum opened in Astoria way back in 1988, more than 30 years ago. And at that time, things were very different than they are now. They have changed quite a bit. We're in the midst of a vibrant neighborhood in Astoria and Long Island City, along with our colleagues at other arts institutions in Western Queens. We are part of what has attracted many new people to live and work and visit Queens. Among our neighbors are artists and people and families that hail from diverse cultures. And of course, we are surrounded by many small businesses, especially wonderful restaurants that form the bedrock and backbone of Astoria. In this period of reemergence from the pandemic, the museum is optimistic and also cautious. We are taking things one step at a time. We reopened our doors in April, first at 25% capacity. Then we raised it to 50% in June. And in July, we're now at 75% capacity. Our Grand Redstone Theater is back with classic big screen movies, including films by Stanley Kubrick, the Cannes Film Festival, as in James Caan, the Oscar-nominated Wolfwalkers, and coming soon, exciting new international films, all New York premieres in our First Look Festival. In our galleries, we're hosting an exhibition that explores the making of Stanley Kubrick's sci-fi masterpiece, 2001: A Space Odyssey. We have a gallery featuring the art of The Simpsons, artist videos from Southeast Asia right next door, plus our popular favorites, the Jim Henson exhibition, and of course, our interactive core exhibition, Behind the Screen. In our classrooms just this week, we welcome back young people to our summer media camps. They'll go on all summer. This weekend, we're also kicking off a new series of events in the Kaufman Courtyard. On Friday, we are screening the martial arts comedy, The Paper Tigers, preceded by a martial arts demonstration, marking the return of our legendary Fist and Sword martial arts screening series. And this Saturday, Queens' own DJ Wiz will be spinning and mixing music and video at the Hip Hop Video Mix Party. Please join us. We encourage you to come to Momi and to support the great restaurants around us. Just to name a few: Saks Place, Tacuba, Arepas Cafe, Mars, Srebrenica Plaskavica, my favorite, Mamoun's Falafel, bubble tea shops and Egyptian restaurants, West African, Korean, Greek, Thai, Mexican, Spanish, French, Ecuadorian, Puerto Rican, Japanese, Chinese, South Asian, and of course, Caribbean restaurants, and much, much more. Plan a visit to the museum and eat and shop before or after your visit. You'll be among many who do so. We are extremely pleased to offer support to Queens Together and Zone 126 in their collaboration to assist local restaurants and serve local families. Please enjoy this new film by Devin Kloss, shot nearby at Socrates Sculpture Park, featuring a celebration of art and food in our neighborhood. What could be a better combination? Bon appetit.
And right before we get to the film, I think we should segue into Paul Ramirez Jonas, who is our artist and sculptor of the work of the Eternal Flame, where we held our event October 2020. So why don't we do that next taped interview with Paul Ramirez Jonas, and then we'll go back into the live events. Hello, everyone. I'd like to introduce Paul Ramirez Jonas, the sculptor and artist of the Eternal Flame. Over the past 25 years, Paul Ramirez Jonas has sought to challenge the definitions of art and the public and to engineer active audience participation and exchange. He has been made public in galleries, institutions, and urban spaces around the world. He is the chair of the art department at Cornell University and is represented by Galeria Nara Rosler in Sao Paulo and New York. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you.
I was very taken by your sculpture, and I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about it, the origins of that work, and how I guess you see it having changed through COVID. I mean, I can't imagine you anticipated the COVID pandemic when you were creating the sculpture.
No, no one could. No, I mean, I tend to work very slowly. So this piece has been kind of brewing for a long time, but in general, I'm always thinking about monuments and public monuments, which are, if you think about monuments, are a smaller section of sculpture, right? So like the world of sculpture, and then there's like a tiny section called monuments. And what's really interesting is they really haven't changed in thousands of years. And there's really about 12 of them, right? There's the Triumphal Arch. That's already a couple thousand years old, and that used to be the gates to a city, in a walled city, and then it got made as a standalone thing. That's a monument. There's the obelisk that starts with Egyptians, but you could still see obelisks being built today. So I jog around Prospect Park almost every day, and there's like a ton of monuments, and there's these statues of lions that are really in these really crazy high pedestals. And then there's barbecue. So I always see like the quinceañera parties, the monument, the barbecue, and then think like, what if the monument was hollow and you could just barbecue inside of it and the smoke would come out?
How do you think that the Eternal Flame monument has differed from your other works?
First I start to think about like something that I want to do. And then I try to bring meaning into it. And they're like, no, don't forget, take yourself out. How do you make it so other people can participate? And then I often think, well, but it's not enough to participate. How do I make something that people can witness? You feel like you've been witnessed participating. So then the Eternal Flame became, I think, for 5 people or 4 people, right? And then I start to think about lines of sights, because it's not just about participation, but how do you create community, even if it's a very tenuous community that only happens by accident. So all those are elements I always try to put in my work. And in this case, the way that the culinary community of Queens used it to produce this film, right, is one of those unexpected things that I could have never thought of myself. And that's when I think the work is successful, that it has been completely appropriated by some members of the community, and now they're using it for their own purposes.
A lot of the materials that you used in the past were more, I guess, maybe more portable. So tell me about your material choice for this.
It's funny because I'm very practical. So for me, one of the most important materials in Eternal Flame is that it is built around the regulation grill for the New York City parks, right? So there's something unfamiliar about it, but once you're set down to cook, if you've barbecued somewhere in the city before, it's completely familiar.
Thank you very much for sharing your time with us.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed speaking with him when I interviewed him. I find him to be just incredibly creative, and I loved seeing him interacting when we did the film as well. So I guess maybe it's a good moment to introduce our director, the director of the film, Devin Close. Devin Kloss, I apologize.
There you go. Hey, Devin. Hey, guys.
Hey, Devin. Devin is director, writer, and performer based in New York, and he's the co-founder of Beards Up Productions, a full-service production team that prides itself on doing everything in-house with care and good humor. And you can see their work on Amazon.
Let me just say, if you're looking at Devin in the middle, Blaze is to the left.
camera, and Andreas is to the right, sound man. I've had a chance to work with them on a few other projects now since then. Really amazing, amazing creative team. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So, what was it like that day filming?
It was interesting because if you remember, we were, we're talking about mid-October, and for a lot of us, this was like our first time being out and about in the world again, because we're still kind of in the middle of the pandemic. We sort of started to see the light on the other side of the tunnel, but not really. And there was something nice about being outside, but with people, because it felt so foreign. And just to be able to interact and feel like there was some kind of normalcy starting to sort of seep back in, it was really refreshing for me specifically, and I think hopefully for everybody.
Yeah, and what about for you, Jonathan? Do you remember that day very well?
I remember we were all afraid. Do we take off the mask? Do we keep it on? How do we operate around each other? How do we share food? And we were outside, so it really made it easier, and it was a beautiful day. I just remember thinking, oh my God, this is what it's like to be with people and break bread and, share a meal and to do it with a bunch of chefs who you've been working with, virtually for 4 or 5 months at that point, doing all this serious community work. It was really very special, very special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that I was very hesitant. You were the first person I actually saw outside of my family when I got out of my car, and I just remember being very, just hesitant, but at the same time, sort of relieved that we were able to share something together in the middle of what seemed like chaos. But who wants to set up the film? Or shall we just go forward?
I would like to say something about the art piece. When Paul and Socrates approached me for when they were doing their own opening video, and they explained that here was this professor who is an artist and does public artworks, and he created something that was a bunch of grills, so people were actually invited to not just look at this piece of art, but to actually engage with it and do something practical. I mean, I immediately thought of when I was a kid at the museum. No one has ever said to you, you see that sculpture over there? Go touch it and cook on it and charcoal. I mean, what Paul does is really quite extraordinary in the world. And to make it so accessible, in the most accessible of all ways, a public picnic space. It doesn't get more accessible than that. So, my hat's off to him. What he did was really fantastic. And allowing us to come do it for ourselves and create this moment, he's a good man. Devin?
Yeah, and I think to piggyback off that, what he said at the end of his interview about how he likes art that people are witnessing and being a part of, that was very powerful to me, because it was just, we kind of talked about it at the day, but it's like we're watching art be made literally, because people are literally cooking in front of us while we're shooting it. So it was just this almost double layer of artistic sort of purpose was all happening at once. And to me, it was just a beautiful experience. Like I said, just to be with people who just felt profoundly good to be outside and amongst each other again. And I think that to me was what I really hoped came through the most in the film, was that there was a sense of needing to be in a community again and feeling like that loss of, getting together and, as you said, Jonathan, breaking the bread. That was the thing we were trying to capture that day. So I hope that when people watch this, that's what they keep in their minds.
And one last thing, if I might, we are saying that this was the first time we were really out and about with people, but you have to remember that these chefs were part of a team across the borough that at this point had probably created over 30,000 meals. And so they were doing all of this work from their kitchens. They weren't connecting with people. They weren't seeing where their food was going to. They were operating blind, strictly because, they believed in this mission. And so I think there was another level of I don't even know what to call it. There was another level being together in this moment that just added something. I don't even know how to explain it, but altogether, it was a very powerful afternoon. And I think Devin really captured it.
Shall we go to the
Yeah. We're at Socrates Sculpture Park in Astoria on the waterfront. And Paul Ramirez Jonas is the artist who did the Eternal Flame. And that's why we're here today. The experience of heritage and what cooking means through memory and tradition. That was his idea for the Eternal Flame, and it was for public use. I wanted to do something that supported the restaurants, fight back as one strong voice, because in Queens we're very separated, not just by geography. We have over 150 cultures and nationalities represented in Queens, so we're really separated.
I guess this is a perfect segue for you to tell us about Queens Together. What
Sure.
is Queens Together?
So Queens Together was an effort to create the first grassroots restaurant association in Queens for Queens small business restaurants.
I mean, I just can't get over how many different cultures were represented today.
These are all my friends, our friends. Everyone came out to help. There's Boyshalki, which is a Bangladeshi restaurant, and Zinan Taverna, which is Cypriot, not Greek. And we have La Aldolita and Corazon del Mexico, two restaurants, Puebla, one in Woodside, one in Long Island City. And we have M. Wells over there, which is Quebecois and Queens because of his wife, I guess. Nourish Spot from Jamaica, Queens, who was actually born in Harlem, raised in Astoria. And finally, we have Casa del Chef, a great Ecuadorian spot in Woodside, one of my favorites.
Who are we with? And give me the name of the restaurant and everything. Let's get started.
Right now, myself being Hugues, all right, and the Crystal, my daughter.
And Nina.
And is Nina here?
No.
Nina's a little stuffed rabbit that's a part of the family. And Sarah, my wife, partner in crime. We've been a business partner and love partner as well since the beginning of M. Wells, which is a restaurant. At first, we wanted to do a general store. I was hunting and trapping up north. I wanted to be a depot for like designer when they can have pelts and furs, and also have a butcher corner in the back and sell toys for kids. So we wanted to have a general store.
Hi, Harry.
Hi, Claudia.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Who do you have with you?
This is my daughter, Theodora,
Hi, Tenvora. Nice to meet you.
and my father-in-law, Stelios.
Hello, Stelios.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So, do you work together at the restaurant?
My father-in-law is the chef at the restaurant. He opened the restaurant in 1988, and I took over about 4 years ago. My mom would always cook at home. She would cook Greek food at home. Easter with the lamb, the whole lamb on the spit.
I love lamb, and I love, you know.
And we make it every Easter now as well, because that is one of the many traditions that we try and keep.
Mi nombre es Cynthia Shepherd. El nombre del restaurante es Corazón de México, Restaurant and Bar. Y bueno, mi mamá y yo somos encargadas de ahí.
Sí, mi nombre es María Iglesias. Representamos Corazón de México.
Y somos de México.
Somos de México.
¿Cómo llegaron al nombre La Delita para uno de los restaurantes?
La Lelita has a background where she was a woman who fought for the freedom revolution of Mexico. So we stand strongly believing that we women are capable of being independent, and we are able to do the same thing, equality, as a man could do in certain areas. So we admire her.
Hi, my name is Jade Duncan.
And I am Dawn Kelly.
And this is my mom.
And this is my daughter, my only daughter.
Do you have any favorite childhood food memories with your mom?
So my mom would let me, explore whatever. So I would see Emeril Lagasse cook dishes, and I would just be like, "Hey, Ma, let's go grocery shopping. I want to get this. I'm making this for dinner." One day I saw them make some lamb chops, and next thing you know, for Thanksgiving, I think I was like 7. I cooked the entire Thanksgiving dinner, made some lamb chops, and can't remember everything else I made, but yeah, I've been me and cooking have a long, long love relationship.
Hi, my name is Alfonso Shikai. I'm the chef owner of Casa del Chef Bistro here in Woodside, Queens, New York.
Do you have can you share some early food memories of when you were a child growing up in Ecuador?
Absolutely, yes. That's something that we can never forget from back home. But there's so many things, so many dishes, so many food that I would love to share. But by the way, restaurant business is one of the business that brings people to the community. I got so many questions. Chef, why did you open such a restaurant in Woodside? I wanted to lift Woodside. I want to be part of the Woodside, become better. And like I said, a reason that people could visit the neighborhood.
My name is Toza Melmia. My mom, her name is Shahara Khan. And she's pretty much my inspiration to open up 4 restaurants now. I mean, here, the family members, needed support by, like economical support to raise us properly. And she chose to go, different restaurant to work there as a chef or, cook in our local Bangladeshi or Indian restaurant without any background of understanding, how restaurant works, what will be, we're going to be facing. Only hope we had that, my mom, she cooks good food.
Restaurants always donate. Restaurants always give up their time and effort, but now is the time to support them while they support the community. No restaurant can survive at 25 or 50%. Most can barely survive at 100%.
It's been very hard. I was about to close my restaurant back in middle of May or something. But, I had to keep standing strong.
Persevering.
Right. And keeping open the doors and being inside the kitchen, being, with our patrons around.
We definitely had to pivot because one of the great things about the Nourish Spot is we're a community gathering space and people enjoyed of all ages, children, adults, the seniors. They would come into the bar and sit down and, buy their food and then interact with us at the store.
What role does Queens Together play in helping you and your community?
They haven't forgotten, someone hasn't forgotten about us, especially in Queens, especially our restaurants, that we are going through hard time. It's our life, our investment there, and we can lose it at any moment. And what are we going to do then? It's not only for me, but also people who eat from us. We're the one who employ, we're the one who contribute a little bit to the community, and seeing how Queens Together is actually reaching out and saying, hey, we're going to help you. This is what you're going to do. This is where you can get legal advice. This is where you can get this information. So that's that way they have really played a big role in it.
Queens Together, we joined to help them and for them to help us because we needed a bigger voice in terms of the restaurants that are in Queens. So with them, we're able to reach more people and really, make an impact to help the restaurants because a lot of the restaurants are closing, a lot of them are struggling, and whatever we can do and they could do to just get the help we need. And
So we're pretty much buying time to survive. And that's what Queens Together, and they're putting together with a group of restaurants and our voices together. It's sometimes when I individually try to say something, it doesn't happen. But when Queens Together trying to say something, we have a body of people that, taking one message to the people who need to hear.
So I've been asking these chefs
Mm-hmm.
that have been here, what does the food community, the local food community need?
So what I would say is that if you want to support your local restaurants, you can order directly from the restaurant. Stop with the third-party apps like Grubhub, Seamless, Yelp. Order directly from the restaurants, because up to 30 to 40% of every dollar doesn't go to your favorite restaurant. It goes to some company outside of your local neighborhood. And that 30 to 40% could be going into the pockets of the restaurant owners and their employees and the local economy. So that's one. Call your local politicians and convince them to convince the landlords to sit down and talk with their tenants, because 94% of restaurants in August couldn't afford to pay their full rents, if any. It's really tough. And I don't know how we're going to survive the rest of the year, but if people just step up like they've been doing and supporting their restaurants, that's what's going to help the most.
We used to go out and dine and stuff. I don't miss like the fancy food from that chef Baba and Bibi. It's the people with who you used to go out. You had great conversation, and that we miss right now. I think food is it's just something that brings good conversation, right? Good things bring good things. At least that's what I think. And like when food is good, like it elevates a conversation, and you remember, you anchor to it. And I think that's what we miss. It's the people,
The community.
the people around, right? People with, yeah.
Are you hopeful?
You wouldn't believe how these chefs and restaurants have stepped up and evolved. And so I am very hopeful that those of us that survive are going to be in a much, much better place than we've ever been before.
Want to talk about the bread?
Yeah, I want to talk about the bread. When Paul set up this event back in July, we taped in August, and we talked about Queens Together and the idea of breaking bread and sharing with people. Basically, it was, that's a great idea. Do bread. If you go on YouTube and you look up how to do bread on a campfire, there's some of that. I couldn't find out how to turn a state or city park grill into an oven, so we just did it, and I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, so please, everybody should come try and break some bread and sit. We've had a really great day, and I'm super excited to share my dish.
Excellent.
Hey, really, thank you everybody for being here. We could not have done it without you, literally, seriously. And the food's been delicious.
Wow. So, every time I watch that, especially the ending, and you put that sappy music in and you list all those facts, it really gets to me. Something came up that I realized we didn't talk about this whole time. We just talked about the good part. October 19th of 2020, restaurants have been fully shut down since the spring. You know, we talked about making 25, 30% of what you would normally make. You know, nobody was dining in. People had left the restaurants. Most of the restaurants had closed down, at least temporarily. And it was really bad. You know, we were giving our lawyer to give legal advice to restaurants to help them get out of leases while they still could, because the governor had done a moratorium on the personal guarantee. We were connecting politicians and agencies and advice and begging and pleading, and so yeah, we did a lot of good stuff, but man, it was really, really bad. And now that it's over, and it's, well, not over, it's July 13th of 2021 today, and you know, restaurants are filling up and we have the outdoor dining and it looks wonderful, but a lot of lives were lost and a lot of lives and businesses were just destroyed because of this pandemic. So I'm grateful we did this, and I'm really proud of the work, and these people are beautiful, but I think we need to remember just how devastating this was for so many people. And thank you for doing what you did, Devin. It was beautiful.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I mean, the thing that I kept thinking the whole time is just how important it is to give these people, like we talked about, a chance to feel like things were normal again, even if it was only for one day, one afternoon. Let these chefs, let these artists do what they do best. Let them cook food that means a lot to them, and let other people enjoy that food. Because that's really, I think that's what got us through everything in the pandemic. You know, Zoom and all that stuff, just like allowing us to communicate was a big deal. And now that we're out on the other side and able to see each other again, I hope it's something we don't ever take for granted anymore, is the ability just to go see friends, go out to dinner with friends, go into a restaurant, feel like we're connected again. And that was the biggest thing that I took out of that whole day, was just that, you know, I had never met any of these chefs before, and they're all so welcoming and so, you know, just full of life. And you could see it in the dishes that they made. That each and every one of them, their personality, a little bit of it comes through in the food, and how they sat and how they talked. Like it was a joy for me to just be a part of that whole experience.
I think
I'm glad you were able to see it like that. It's really nice.
From Paul Ramirez Jones's interview is the desire to create community, and the way he said it, I think no matter how tenuous it was, and I think that the success of his art is the fact that we created, I mean, that day was all of us, all of the people that were there. You know, you felt like you were part of one big community. So thank you both for allowing that to shine and to show and for it to happen.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
So shall we bring on our next live interview with Dawn Kelly of the Nourish Spot. And hello, Dawn.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Good. And I'll introduce my next two guests, which are Cynthia Shepard and Maria Iglesias of La Delita. Hello.
You're both on mute, I think, Cynthia.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. And Hector.
So this was, I guess I want to get your impression, because I think this is the first time you've seen this film. So Dawn, you want to share your thoughts?
I was deeply moved by the film. Bravo, Devin. It's gorgeous. That day was such a wonderful day. Just being invited to join the rest of the restaurateurs and chefs and queens together on a wonderful day, a wonderful October day, which was actually 2 days after my birthday. And to come to Astoria, a place where I grew up, it was wonderful to watch my daughter, who is a trained chef from Johnson and Wales, showcase her talent using fresh fruits and vegetables that we make available to the people in our community. So I was proud to be a part, and I'm glad that Jonathan thought to have us have the Nourish Spot engaged.
And Cynthia or Maria, what were your impressions? I think you're on mute. I'm not sure.
Oh no.
Nope.
No.
How about you, Maria?
She's muted.
Hi.
Hola.
Buenas. ¿Cómo está, señora?
Muy bien, muy bien. Y el día de la comida en la llama encendida fue un día muy bonito, muy placentero compartir con todos los chefs cocinando y con ese pan delicioso que hizo Jonathan. Muy, muy bonito compartir con todos los demás restaurantes. Fue un día muy especial para nosotros porque fue primera vez que nosotros hacemos algo así con más chef cocinando, compartiendo, conviviendo.
Sí.
Fue muy bonito.
Me alegra que usted haya podido participar también.
Ay, gracias a ustedes, a Jonathan, a la gente que hizo eso del parque, ¿verdad? Muy bonito.
Muy lindo. So, are you, Cynthia, can you speak or?
Yeah.
Ahora.
That's it.
Oop.
Yep.
No?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Okay. That day was very emotional. I'm very seeing back and everything that we had to experience. It was the first time coming out and being feeling like people again. It was a nice experience doing this film. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, the team. They did an excellent job. It brought a lot of memories of hard times that we were going through, and looking back and seeing where we still surviving and you're still with us and we're still growing. It's very emotional. Thank you.
So I guess I have a question, last question to ask both of you, or all the chefs and restaurateurs here. It's been 6 months since, or maybe 8 months since the film, and I asked Jonathan, what was he hopeful for, and so now I'm asking you, what about you? What has it been like for you, and what are you hoping for? Dawn, if you want to start.
I'm hopeful. Well, first of all, again, I just want to say bravo to everyone that was there. I got to taste all the food from all the restaurants. And so, I was very pleased with all of the options that were provided. But I'm hopeful that we now have an organization in Queens Together that's advocating for all of us, because restaurants in New York City are still weathering the COVID-19 pandemic. There's a lot of challenges that we're all facing still in terms of distribution, in terms of sourcing inventory, in terms of those high taxes that we pay. So there's a lot of issues that we're managing while trying to feed, our customers, our clients. And so I'm just pleased that we have an advocacy organization that is speaking on behalf of all of us. And I'm also happy that I now have new entrepreneur friends that when I'm you know, needing inspiration or idea or help, there's people that I can pick up the phone and I can call and I can talk to. So I believe the future is bright despite the pandemic.
Yes, in fact. And what about Maria or Cynthia? What are
Oh
you?
my gosh. Dawn said it everything. She said everywhere. It was so perfect. It was exactly what was on my mind. And I'm really happy that as well that we have now a leader, someone who represents us and speaking out to us. We still have a lot of challenges that we are going through, but with all the information that Queens Together is doing and persistency, I am very hopeful we are going to be one of the best hospitality, not only in Queens, but in New York City. I know we're gonna be leading the example, and I know we're gonna come back strong because we are becoming united. And I'm very happy. Also, I've been able to connect with other chefs. We share ideas. This is not about. We all learn how to work together. Something that we didn't used to happen before. So besides of all the things that happened, I think this really taught us together that we need each other, and only together we're gonna see a brighter future.
Amen.
Claudia, I want to say one more thing.
Yes.
I used to work in PR and marketing, and we would say that content is king. But I would tell you that what I've learned in COVID, especially working with Queens Together and some of the other organizations, collaboration is king. And that's the only way that all of us here in New York, restaurateurs and everyone else actually, the way that we're going to win is that we build bridges to each other and we collaborate and figure out how to win together, because it's no fun to be the only one.
Amen to that.
I think you've set this up so perfectly for me, because our next tape segment is two Astoria chefs who are actually neighbors. They share, neighbors, and they're in a conversation. And I think that they too speak to the same topic about collaboration and how Queens Together helps bring everybody together and build community. So let's go to that tape segment. Today we will be speaking with Harry Ioannidis. Did I get that right?
Oh, yeah.
And who, together with his father-in-law, Stelios,
Papa Giorgio is a good way to say it.
together with his father-in-law, Stelios Papagiorgio, runs and Xenon Taverna in Astoria. And we're also speaking with Darren Lawless, chef and owner of Il Bambino. Can I ask you each to give us the addresses of your restaurants?
3410 and 3408, 31st Avenue.
We're right beside each other.
Shoulder to shoulder.
If you're schizophrenic, come into both.
If I said to you, give me 15 words to describe your restaurant for someone that has no idea what you do, how would you describe it?
Traditional Cypriot tavern, very family oriented. My wife grew up in the restaurant. We have people who used to bring their kids. They've had parties upstairs, their baptisms, their birthdays. They keep coming back. Now the kids are grown up. They come with their kids. They come back and they say, "Oh, I was here 20 years ago and nothing has changed." And it's this, I guess that our culture is kind of like, come in, eat, sit down, hang out with us. And I mean, that's what really the whole restaurant is about. It's about being social with one another. So the pandemic definitely hurt us in that way, because you weren't able to see the person face to face. When you do these online orderings
and people are just names and numbers, and then you're just a quick voice on the phone. You know, you don't get that same type of relationship with people. But the ones who do know us would call us up and they still talk to us, and they remember, oh, here, I'm going to come in as soon as possible because I want to sit down and hang out and see you guys. How's your father-in-law? How's your mother-in-law? How are the kids? And it really is very family, I guess, community, village oriented. So.
And Darren, what about you? How would you describe Il Bambino?
I think in essence, we're just a sandwich shop, but we make it in the style of like an Italian panini. But we definitely go outside the parameters of Italy and the Mediterranean. And we kind of borrow from everywhere. So we're influenced by whatever is actually tastes good and marries well, that we can make our sandwiches with. But in essence, we're just a sophisticated sandwich shop that make hot pressed sandwiches.
What's your comfort food at your own restaurant? What's something that you love to prepare, you love to eat, or you're home when you have this at your restaurant?
I have a couple of favorites, but actually the one that I would always, my go-to, and I don't make it, my mother-in-law makes it, and it's the pasticcio, because it's pasta, it's our ground pork, we grind it here, with our own herbs and spices, mint and halloumi and bechamel on top, and when you get it nice and hot and out of the oven, and especially
Damn, son, how come you never brought that next door? All right. When we go into soup season, which is usually in the fall, and we make a tomato soup, and when I walk in and I can smell, actually when I turn the block and I can smell that cooking, that's it. I gotta have it. And apart from that, I'm a sucker for a good brownie. We make a really good brownie. I do love a brownie. And
what are you hopeful for with regard to your businesses and recovery?
I hope that we can all, and I really hope that we can all stand back and take a deep breath and just, I don't want it to go back to the way that it was before COVID, believe it or not, where, it just seems like everybody was breathing down your back. Or the hospitality business got decimated. It really did get brought to its knees. And it's going to take a few years to recover. And I just hope that agencies and people are patient and understand that it's just not going to be a switch that gets flicked and it's business as usual. Restaurants, I think, are going to need to be rebuilt.
It's hard as a small business when you have expectations to do what the big businesses do. And now I think people, are more aware that, okay, the small businesses, it's the actual person, it's not like this entity, it's Darren, it's Harry, they're there every day. They're making sure you come in, everything is supposed to be the way it is. It's not some big corporation behind it.
Well, thank you both very much. If you have something else to add on your own, feel free to do that. But I don't have any more questions for the two of you. I appreciate your time.
You're very welcome. I would just like to give a big shout out to everybody in the neighborhood who has supported us. We think you're absolutely amazing. The generosity of people would nearly make you cry at the very beginning. This time last year, I stood at that counter and I remember people coming in and ordering food and seeing what they were putting in the tip jar, and it took my breath away. It really, really did. People so came together and supported us, and we'll be forever thankful. And from the bottom of our heart, myself and Melanie, you really did help keep the business alive, and the outreach and the outpouring of gratitude for us going in there and staying open was absolutely tremendous. We love every one of you.
It's always powerful when the big tough guy gets all soft and mushy. Darren, Darren's an amazing guy. He really says it like it is.
Yeah, I think it's yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it's getting really emotional. It's just hard. Um, I would like to bring in Beatrice as our last taped interview. So let's do that, and we'll touch base after that. I'm here with Beatrice Agero, who is the chef and owner of NJ in Astoria. Welcome, Beatrice.
Thank you for having me, Claudia. Thank you.
The name of your restaurant and what it means. Can you share that with us?
It's a name given, but it's also part of a longer proverb in the Igbo language of the people of Southeast Nigeria, the Igbo ethnic group. So in the Igbo language, Neji means, may I never be disconnected from my maternal lineage. The Igbo language isn't a language that can be translated. It can only be transliterated. So because of that, it would be important for me to break down Ne and J. Ne means mother, and J means to hold on to. And the long phrase Ne Jiakula means, may I never be disconnected from my maternal lineage. And I think as applied to our choice for it as the name of the restaurant, it means may I never forget where I've come from.
You opened your restaurant during the pandemic.
We had been open as a gift shop, Ibari, that has been on 23rd Avenue since 2018. And when we were there, the response was so overwhelming. And we were surprised because we presented this what we call international nostalgia products from West Africa, products from Macedonia, from Morocco that we thought would celebrate some of the shared food traditions and connect friends and visitors who maybe have gone to these places or from these places. And we found that when visitors came in, they asked us for quote unquote real food. So we were really pushed to see what presentation of West African cuisine we could share in a way that was accessible to friends in Astoria and beyond. And so there were major setbacks, and some of the contractors were in a very strict quarantine environment, let alone dealing with the needs of their families and teams and staff. And then being located right here in Queens, very close to the epicenter of the pandemic, was its own level of challenge.
Do you have a restaurant background? What inspired this?
If I'd say where my culinary training came from, it came from my life as a child of Igbo immigrants in America. It came from the social gatherings that my mom took part in when we went to a friend's house or a community meeting. It came from knowing that as an Igbo, food is at the center of all of our gatherings. It's how we honor those who are no longer with us, those who are living, and those who are yet to come.
Out of respect for these traditions, can you share with us some of your favorite childhood food memories?
My family always knew that there were 2 or 3 ingredients that we could find at every grocery store, wherever we were, that could be used as approximations of Nigerian dishes or Igbo dishes. And that was, I would say, 2, okra and tomato. So okra was always accessible, possibly because it came up through the West Indies and also through Latin America. So we could always find okra. And tomato, grown here and grown abroad, was used to make red stew, which is sort of like a party stew or a marinara for the region, as I'd like to call it. And so those 2 ingredients were important for my family because they could always use it to whip up an approximation of soup that complemented a fufu, which is the staple eaten by Igbos. As yam farmers, it is traditionally yam, but approximations could include cornmeal, could include plantain. So outside of Nigeria, so many different communities have found different grains that they have used to try to make versions of fufu. But in my Beatrix Potter plate, sections plate as a child, okra was on one side, red stew was on the other, and fufu was in the center. So.
And do you serve do you serve any of these in your restaurant?
We do. We make okra spinach quite often. I think I'm always excited to share different iterations of the okra spinach because in Latin America it's quite popular. In the West Indies there's a version. Certainly in the American South, when I visited Jackson, I saw the biggest okra I had ever seen. And so for me, it's an ingredient that reminds us how small the world is.
So tell us where we can go and have some of this delicious okra.
Sure. Neji is located at 32-20 on 34th Avenue here in Astoria. And we're open from 12:30 to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. And we're open from 5 to 8 p.m. on Saturday. Please come and visit us and ask for samples if you'd like.
What hope do you have for the future of restaurants, maybe short term?
We the people of the city, and can ride that as we meet this, what lies ahead. I know that organizations like Queens Together have been there and have been pulling, not just here in the borough, but across the city, to make sure that we're stronger and stronger. But my, I guess my vision for the city is one that allows us to remember that we are equal to the task, but much work lies ahead, and collaboratively we can achieve much. And for us not to give up the fight to make our city, better than it was even before the pandemic, and to push through, because there's a lot of leadership responsibility on us, and many other cities, the Queen City is looking at us here in the States, cities around the country, cities around the world are looking at us. And so with all of that, we have, lots of work to do. We want to get moms back into the workforce. We want to get restaurants opened again. We want to get the arts back into community. We want our teachers and our students and the Department of Education to exhale for the first time and maybe quite some time. So all these pieces I think are really important. Our infrastructure workers, Department of Sanitation, Department of Transportation, these are all of the veins of this big heart. And I think that when we remember them, we remember we can do much together, we'll continue to go far.
Your mission is so clear, and we need hundreds of people like you, thousands of people like you. So thank you for sharing your time.
Claudia, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Guess it's time to wrap up.
Yeah. I hope that you can all see out there that chefs aren't just slinging food. They are community leaders, supporters, spokespeople, very, very powerful people. So next time you go into a restaurant, just think about the people who are cooking for you and serving you. They are probably leaders that you didn't even know about. And since this is a fundraiser, I do need to say that if you could give just $25, we have it down, so $25 will buy 2 big, full, brimming bags of groceries, potatoes, onions, carrots, staple goods, rice, beans, lentils, and those groceries will last a family quite a while and allow them to cook for themselves. So please, if you could just click and donate $25, it would really mean a lot to many people. There's the link. That is so impressive. Click the link, go check it out, give some money, make it 50. Why not?
Last words, Devin?
Yeah, I just think the important thing and what I've learned in this last year and then just working with Queens together and then getting to know you both so well is just that there's always a need for more empathy and for understanding that just because, you know, we grew up in different places or we might live in different places, we all still experience the same things. And hopefully as we come through COVID, if we get to 2022 and everything seems like it's good, we don't lose the lessons, because I think it would be so wonderful if all the sentiments that all the chefs have talked about and then you both have talked about, that's not just something that's temporary, but that becomes the new normal. And that's really my big hope for the future and for getting to whatever's next. Because as everybody keeps saying, if we do it together, then there's nothing to worry about. It's only when we get separated and feel like we're isolated and apart, that's when depression sets in. That's when the darkness starts to come. But if we realize that all of us collectively can get things done, that's where the light comes from.
Very well said.
That's it. Thank you, Devin.
Thank you.
And thank you, Claudia, for doing this.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you. Donate.
Donate. Donate.
Queenstogether.org.